Orbz. There are a lot of games that have them, and in some of them, orbs are the main feature. You've got games like Orb 3D, WizOrb, Mythmakers, Orbs of Doom, and ORB, Off-World Resource Base. Well, maybe not that last one. Anyway, my point is they're everywhere, and today I want to talk about Orbz from the Windows XP era, with a Z. Orbz. I played a ton of this game in the early to mid 2000s. At its core, it's pretty simple. Basically, imagine you were a self-propelling golf ball. That's pretty much the gist. That said, the game doesn't actually play like golf, and the rules are totally different. The goal of the game is to shoot yourself at stars scattered around a map. The sort of orangish and red stars are worth more points than the more common yellow ones. The controls are as simple as they get. To shoot, you click to start filling up a bar, and click again when you want to launch while aiming with your mouse. The bar goes back and forth on its own, so you don't need to worry about missing your chance. So far, we've just been in the tutorial, so let's get into the game proper. Oh, but first, I have some good news, and some bad news. See, back in the day, I'm sure I was playing this on a CRT or squarish LCD monitor. However, the game actually fully supports widescreen, even at 1080p. The UI mostly isn't even stretched, which is pretty impressive. The bad news? Well, you'll know it when you see it. The first real level of the game is the same as the tutorial, except this time we need to score 2,000 points in 3 minutes to at least get a bronze medal and unlock the next challenge. It looks nice. It's got a sort of surreal, ancient Roman or Greek vibe with the pillars and floating platform. It's even got a refreshing lake. As you can see, there are a bunch of stars floating everywhere. Hitting them back to back without missing gives you progressively more points. Alright, silver medal right off the bat. Next level. This time we've got more of a haunted medieval vibe with the castle wall and gate. I love this map style. It's definitely my favorite in the entire game. There's nothing quite like sort of but not really golfing in a spooky graveyard at night. Nice. You probably couldn't tell just by looking at the footage, but I'm actually running this game on a Windows XP machine. Here are the specs. The most interesting bits are the Core 2 Duo for the CPU and the GeForce 8800 GTS for the video card, both of which are overkill for this game. I don't think this game uses EAX, so the Sound Blaster Live isn't really doing much for us. One of my goals here in the Neverchive is to showcase games running in their native operating environments whenever possible, while I still can. This hardware might not die out soon, but it's inevitable that it will die someday, and emulation or compatibility modes don't always tell the full story, so I'd like to catalog what I can. The next course takes place on a construction site. I guess this could be just about anywhere modern. This is probably my least favorite aesthetic, though I don't think it looks bad. All of the game's textures are fairly simple and low resolution, but that's to be expected with a game this old. Still, these construction levels tend to be some of my least favorite because of all the beams in the way of your shots, and verticality in this game can get really annoying to deal with. More on that later. Next up, back to medieval times. This is my favorite look, but reusing assets already? Not a great sign. Though I think I like this level better than the other medieval one. The centerpiece tree with a graveyard surrounding it looks awesome, and there are a bunch of stars down there which makes it easy to rack up a ton of points quickly. The floating platforms can be a bit tedious to get up on though, because if you miss, you might get sent rolling downhill, which means it'll be ages before you get another shot. Still, I think this is one of my favorite courses in the game. The accelerator at the top of the tree is a nice touch, and it gives you a great view. Come to think of it, we haven't talked about the things other than stars that you can interact with. Well, like I said, there are accelerators which shoot you far into the distance. The first level also had a teleporter, which does exactly what you think. The biggest issue with these is that you're not guaranteed to hit anything when you use them, so they might break your streak depending on the level. There are also a few different power-ups, but the most common ones are probably the money shot, which I think doubles your base score for the next star you hit, and the sticky shot, which allows you to stick to walls and stuff for a while. Also, hitting a power-up box won't break your streak. Level 5 brings us right back to level 1. Yeah, assets are heavily reused in this game, to a point where it's noticeably bad. I like the design of the environments, but damn do I wish there were more of them. Anyway, the challenge for this level is a bit different at least. Instead of a timer, we need to hit every star, so we can take our time if we want. I definitely prefer these challenges. It's fun to be able to just mess around, trying out long shots, and generally to play without the rush. We don't get to see a new course until Challenge 7. This one has the same asset kit as 5, but it adds a nice rainbow and a waterfall to the mix. There's also a new power-up which lets us float on water, which is handy. See, if you land in the water, it's harder to judge your next shot because you're, well, underwater and can't see much. The physics also change, so you end up getting less distance with your shot. Speaking of distance, there's another power-up worth mentioning, which gives you a long shot. It's not as handy as the sticky shot, but it's still fun to use. In level 8, we get a new course and a new asset kit. Game, you spoil me. This time we get to play in the snow.
It's time to kick a little honey.
And what's this? We have AI opponents. Yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, but this game has a fairly prominent multiplayer component. We'll talk about that in a bit. This level also features a new environmental hazard, the magnet. One type pushes you away while the other pulls you in. You can also get the demagnetizer power-up to nullify the magnet's effects temporarily. The difficulty is starting to ramp up as well. This is the first challenge I've failed. No medal means no new challenge unlock. You might have noticed that my orb looks different pretty much every level so far. That's because the game has a bunch of different skins to choose from. Most of them have a sciencey or sci-fi feel, but there are a few that feel at home in a more medieval or even modern setting. There are a few more maps that unlock as you go along completing challenges, but you've seen all the asset kits already. So, what else can we talk about? Well, the music in this game is great. What there is of it anyway. As far as I can tell, there are only 2 tracks. One for the main menu, and one for the levels. That's a bit anemic even for a simple game like this, but it definitely has a mood. I can see it fitting right in with something like Peggle. I guess that makes sense, since Orbz and Peggle are more or less of the same era, and I'd describe both as casual games, at least as far as the single player is concerned for Orbz. Plus, both games have a similarly cheerful atmosphere. I actually think Orbz could have made for a halfway decent mobile game, though this day and age I have to wonder if all the unlockables would be thrown in the trash or gated behind an obnoxious microtransaction minefield. Regardless, it has the necessary mobile gameplay components of low stakes and simple mechanics. You know, I don't really play mobile games, but my favorite one by far is desert golfing. Like I said, low stakes and simple mechanics. Oh, and when you buy the game, there are no further transactions required to get the full experience. At least that was the case when I bought it many years ago. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track here. The rest of the audio in Orbz is serviceable, though, like the music, there isn't much to it. You can tell the castle levels got a bit of extra love with the added sound effects.
So that's the way it's gonna be.
You can also use a few voice taunts if you're feeling spicy.
Oh no!
I am master of the orb.
Wait, where have I heard that before? Huh. Anyway, the bots like using these from time to time to remind you that they exist. Damn, I'm having some trouble with Challenge 13. I mentioned that verticality in this game can be a problem. This level is a prime example of why. If you miss your shot, you're going to spend an eternity falling, and then another eternity getting back to where you were. I think this and a later ice level are my least favorites in the game by far. No metal. Well, let's try again, I guess. Wait, what? Why buy? Yeah, you may have noticed that Buy Now button at the bottom right corner of the screen. I've been playing the unregistered version this whole time. It's the full game, but you only get 60 minutes to play, and that includes any time spent in the game at all. I lost a few minutes just fussing with the options. I think you may have guessed it, but now we have to talk about the bad news. This game is dead, and pretty much nobody will ever be able to legally play the full version again. This game is one of the few that originally came from the Garage Games store, alongside other titles like Marble Madness or Mutant Storm. That's where I bought my copy of Orbz back in the day. This game was made using GG's Torque engine by a small company called 216 Productions, but they don't seem to exist as an entity anymore, though they still have a website. You might be thinking, hey, if you bought the game, why can't you just use your key to unlock the rest of it? Well, I'm working from memory here, but I probably could do that if this was the original version of the game. We've been playing the version 2 update, sometimes called Orbz 2, and guess what it added? That's right, online activation. But hey, those servers were probably run by Garage Games, so it's no problem if 216 went under. Haha, well, Garage Games is officially dead too, and with it went any hope of activating the game that I legally purchased. See, I had the foresight to archive this and Mutant Storm many years ago. I backed up the installer and my key onto a disk, which I still have. I guess I didn't realize at the time that online activation would be required, so even though I have the game files and my game key, it doesn't matter. Amazing. Now, to be fair, there is a little more to the story. I can't find the page on archive.org anymore, so I guess you'll just have to trust me, but there was a way to get an offline activation file of some kind via the Garage Games website. But now that it's dead, that option is as dead as the activation servers. I didn't know this at the time I made the backups, or I obviously would have done it. Though, and I'm just speculating here, it wouldn't surprise me if the offline activation file was somehow tied to one specific computer. I thought this video was going to end right here. But after several days of allegedly scouring the internet, I managed to find a version of the game that I could allegedly unlock offline. Forcing me to allegedly turn to petty crime to play the game that I bought and own is fucking bullshit, and that's unallegedly an understatement. And make no mistake, I tried getting in touch with 216 and some people who were involved with Garage Games to try to find a way to activate my copy of the game, but as you might imagine, it didn't lead to anything. While we're talking about online stuff, Orbz does have some minor multiplayer features that required interacting with a central server. For example, it used to have a master server list and leaderboards, but neither were required to play the game because you could always host your own server without being on the master list or even connected to the internet. The game shipped with its own dedicated server built in, so to this day, you can set up something private on the internet or on your own LAN if you want. When hosting multiplayer, you can pick a map and even set the round and time limits to unreasonable levels, while enjoying the game with up to 10 total players, including bots.
I am usually referred to as the Master.
will evil never rest.
Back to the topic of not being able to legally play my own game. Well, I'm not a lawyer, but there's this text in U.S. federal law, Section 117A of Chapter 1 in Title 17, that allows owners to legally copy or adapt their software as long as it's a necessary step toward being able to actually use the program. You know what software companies did in response? Trust me, you know the answer. They started saying their software is licensed, not sold. So fuck you, you own nothing, thereby avoiding this section of copyright law. In other words, the software industry has been deliberately sidestepping a consumer protection law for decades and getting away with it. I'm not even sure I want to be a lawyer. I think I'd rather just make videos on the internet. But I'm in the same boat as the rest of you. I'm just looking into the distance through a spyglass, and I can see what's at the end of our charted course. It's the company that made the boat wanting to charge us a subscription fee to open the sails. Subscription for your movies, subscription for your games. Subscription for your heated seats. Subscription to toast your bread, but only for approved brands because there's a DRM chip in the crust, and tampering with it is a federal offense, you fucking criminal. It started with tech companies that wanted you to own nothing. Now that poison is seeping into every industry, and software is the Trojan horse they're using to get away with it, thanks to this licensing bullshit being held up in court, and a steady stream of lawmakers that apparently barely have any understanding of the technology that's already running their lives.
And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes.
If I'm emailing within WhatsApp, does that ever inform your advertisers?
No, we don't see any of the content in WhatsApp. It's fully encrypted.
Right, but is there some algorithm that spits out some information to your ad platform, and then let's say I'm emailing about Black Panther within WhatsApp. Do I get a Black Panther banner ad?
Senator, we don't...
No, you can't hack this program you bought that's no longer activatable. It's a software security issue, and bypassing our DRM would violate the license agreement. No, you can't fix your phone. It's a software security issue, and bypassing our DRM would violate the license agreement. No, you can't access your car's diagnostics. It's a software security issue, and bypassing our DRM would violate the license agreement. No, you can't fix your tractor so we can have a stable food supply. It's a software security issue, and bypassing our DRM would violate the license agreement.
God damn it!
Now, to be fair, all of these examples are from a few or more years ago, and some have been fixed since. On top of that, there are exemptions to what's covered by the DRM portion of the DMCA, and those are updated every 3 years. It looks like at some point bypassing DRM to get access to vehicle diagnostics was added, and in 2018 bypassing DRM for a game you own that no longer has online activation servers was also allowed. Though I'm really not sure it matters because I assume the license agreements for the software are still binding. So you see, I feel like I have to become a lawyer, or at least become as knowledgeable as one, because it's the only chance I have to maybe prevent myself from living in a society where regular people not only own nothing, but carry on with their lives like that's okay, instead of calling it out for the insanity that it is. Basically, what I'm saying is, we need to change course and find somewhere better to drop anchor, before the boat companies start labeling us all as pirates for wanting to own our ship. Alright, enough of the ranting. What do you say we get back to Orbz? Like I said, I managed to acquire a fully working copy of the game, so let's check out a few more levels. Though there are 35 challenges in all, sadly there aren't many new maps to talk about. Obviously, I really like this one with the tower in the middle. Are you kidding me? I nailed that star! But this game doesn't allow for buzzer beaters, unfortunately. And look at that! I unlocked a new orb. I think you get one of these for every 5 gold medals you get. It looks pretty cool, and it even has its own unique special effects. I feel like it's a bit distracting though. Here's another ice map, this time in a ravine, but the one I really like is this huge one with the little cabins and trees. It really makes me wish there was a bit more to explore. Maybe a world map or something to tie everything together. This one ice map with the huge canyons can go to hell though. It's definitely my least favorite in the entire game. Aside from that, there are a couple more big ancient ruins maps and this Starry Night construction map. While I don't prefer the construction aesthetic, this one gets a pass because the nighttime atmosphere is pretty nice. As for the other maps, they're fine. Floating platforms on each can be a pain to get onto, and if you miss, there's a decent chance you're gonna end up in the drink or falling for ages. The challenge really ramps up on one of the challenges for this one map. I had to retry it a bunch of times because I couldn't beat the AI. Look at that. There's no way I could have hit that star before the bot got it. I think they get to launch early, or at least at frame perfect speeds. There may be a map or two that I've missed talking about, but by now I think you get the idea. I didn't mention it earlier, but it can be fun to shoot yourself off into unintended directions, just to explore a little. Now we've been talking about the PC version this whole time. Interestingly enough, Orbz was one of the games that came to Xbox Live Arcade, and it seems like the gameplay got a bit of an upgrade and some new environments. I figured I'd see if it was still available, so I fired up the old Xbox 360 to check, and no, it's not there. That's actually because it was on the arcade service for the original Xbox. I never had that console as a kid, but I do have one now. Unfortunately, the live service was shut down ages ago. I did read an article that made it sound like a demo version was distributed on one of the physical arcade discs though, so I got one. And no, it's not here. The only way I'm aware of to legally play the Xbox version of Orbz was to buy it some 15-ish years ago from the time of making this video. The only game on this disc is Miss Pac-Man from what I can tell. Still, it seems like there is a way to play Orbz on the Xbox. I've seen the videos, but I'm not going to try to set up an emulator or mod my Xbox to do it. At least not for this video. I'm already, allegedly, taking my chances with the full PC version of Orbz. There was another port of the game made for the Tapwave Zodiac, an obscure handheld system that I guess nobody bought. Supposedly, that version of Orbz is now freeware, but I don't have a Zodiac, and as far as I know, there isn't even a Zodiac emulator, so I can't show it to you. You know, finally coming back to this game was a lot of fun, but it definitely slapped the nostalgia goggles off my face. I found myself getting bored after 5 or so challenges in a row. The lack of variety in the asset kits and the limited sound really bring down the overall experience. I think this is the kind of game that could really make do with a spiritual successor, rather than a remake like is common in the industry at the moment. At the time of its original release, digital distribution was kinda novel, but if this game was released now at the price it was back then, it'd get roasted for being half a game, and rightfully so. Regardless, I can imagine a more ambitious title with more involved mechanics, but similar core gameplay. Maybe you could add a feature to allow some minor control over your orb while it's in the air. What about moving targets or more power-ups? Obviously, more map environments is a given, but what if there was some interactivity like destructible walls or platforms you could move? I can imagine an entire puzzle mode with these kinds of mechanics, and that's just off the top of my head. I just found this out as I was finishing up the script, but apparently you could make custom maps for Orbz. There was an entire website dedicated to the game with forums and everything. And there was a custom map pack that added 47 new maps to play. That's like 3 times the maps that were in the final official version of the game. There was also another separate map pack from someone named Fishbob that looks like it added even more maps. I mean, look at these screenshots. You're telling me I could have been playing Orbz in the suburbs or on a pirate ship this whole time? I feel like there's a lost legacy at the center of the Orbiverse here, just waiting to be rediscovered. I don't remember any of this from when I was playing the game back in the day. I tried downloading these maps, but the only place that seemed to have them on an active website gave me nothing but download errors. It's a shame I can't show these off along with the Tapwave or Xbox versions of the game. If I ever get my hands on them, maybe I'll do some kind of extra episode. To that end, if you made it this far and you were involved with Orbz or Garage Games, or you know someone who was, feel free to get in touch with me. Same goes for the folks who are involved with these custom map packs for PC. Maybe there's hope to legally save these maps and the rest of the game yet, though you'll understand if I don't hold my breath. Well, now you know as much about Orbz as I do. Orbz, I mean. Our expertise might differ more substantially when it comes to other kinds of orbs. I'll see you next time. After all, there's always something else in the Neverchive. What's at the end of the rainbow? I guess we'll never know.